So over here at Landis Arboretum, we have plant collections that were started by our founder Fred Lape. So we have plants and trees in particular from all different parts of the world. Um, we've got a larches from Russia. We've got oaks from Mongolia. We've got one of the first ever Don redwood trees that were brought over to the country, planted here in 1951 from seeds that were received from the original expedition to China from Arnold Arboretum, which is part of Harvard. And Fred Lape, he knew the director of horticulture over at Arnold Arboretum, and they had a lot of money for travel and research. So they sent a team over to China to collect seed from this grove of Don redwood trees. Um, I'll just back up by saying that Don redwoods were thought to be extinct into the late 40s. It was only known by fossil records, and then a grove of these trees, Lost Grove, was found in China, and then one of the first U.S. expeditions was from Arnold Arboretum. And so Fred Lape, the founder of Landis Arboretum, said, "Hey, is there any chance I can get a few seeds from you guys?" So when they came back, they sent Fred Lape 5 seeds. Of those 5 seeds, only 3 sprouted. And of the 3 that sprouted, only 1 lived. And it's in our parking lot now. It's about 85 feet tall. One of the first Don redwoods, like I said, brought over to the country and planted out in arboretums. It's not the biggest, only because our growing conditions here are colder. And we also have clay, rocky soils. And so if you look at some of the Don redwoods that were planted in warmer climates, downstate, there's certainly bigger ones. Other parts of the country, moving south of New York, where it's warmer, they got bigger faster. So it's not the largest, but it's still, pushing 90 feet and with a trunk that's, 4 feet diameter, maybe more. And it is one of the oldest ones. And that's also what makes an arboretum an arboretum. It's not just we're a place with a bunch of trees that are planted. We know where they came from. We know how they were planted. We track the growing conditions for these trees over the years. And, so there's a lot of data behind the scenes. It's not just a sign, and we're all a sign. So, you can see, what they are. Oh, what's this? Well, you should be able to find theoretically a sign that says what it is and what family it belongs to. But then behind that, we have a bunch of the data. Like I said, it's not on the tags, but how we got these trees, where they came from, the source, whether they were wild collected, whether they were bought from a nursery, whether they were started from seed or they were started from a small plant, and we track them over the years and how they grow. That enables us to serve a greater audience. So it's more than just a pretty park with a bunch of beautiful trees and some great views and vistas, which we certainly are. But we also can serve a lot more research based people. So we've done work with I know Notre Dame has actually done DNA analysis of our oak collections to see the hybridization between oak species, and the only way that worked is if they actually had trees that were documented where they came from, if they were wild collected, and because we have that data, it enables them to be able to conduct that research. So that's just one example, but we've had a lot of different examples. The rarest plant at the Arboretum is a plant called Buckleya distichophylla, or also known as pirate bush. And it's what we call a hemiparasite. So it actually robs resources from other plants, but not enough to kill them, which is why it's not a true parasite. Its goal is to not kill the host, but to just help rob a little bit of resources to be able to survive. And it's federally endangered in its zone where it would grow, which is down south. So in terms of arboretum collections of these things, outside of their native range, ex situ conservation, we have the greatest probably collection in the world outside of its native range, growing here at Landis Arboretum, and so much so that the folks even at Arnold Arboretum, Harvard University, if they get questions about Buckleya, it's usually talk to Fred over at Landis Arboretum. And that's our sort of claim to fame for our rarest plant here. But for whatever reason, they do really well here. They've been growing on along with other conifers, so they sort of attach themselves to root systems of conifers. And we have them growing on white pine. We have them growing on larch. we have them growing on hemlock, which is in their native range, their preferred host. And we have them naturally reproducing. So Fred Lape collected these from the South many years ago, back in 1951, around the date of the founding of Landis Arboretum, and brought them here. And I think there was maybe 6 or 7 plants that he installed. And now I think we have, the last count was, we have like 13 or 15 of these plants growing that we've identified. And a lot of it's spread by animals. So there's little seeds that they get, and a lot of the mice and rodents chew them up. So it's, a lot. It's hard for them to sometimes survive, but from time to time, some do, and they find a host to attach to. And we've seen them spread out through the Arboretum. We've seen them even on the other side of the Arboretum, far from their original planting site. And they're doing well, and they naturally reproduce. So, so that's another thing. And we educate about this stuff. We have signage, interpretive signage. We have QR codes, and we do educational programs, geared towards these different types of plants, and now they grow.